Today we are going to be making one of my mother's dishes. We are going to be making a salmon fried rice. Salmon fried rice is really a great dish. And it's funny because I hadn't actually heard about salmon fried rice or had it until I had moved away from home. And so a couple of months ago, actually, wow, it's been almost a year ago, my mother came all the way from New Jersey to assist me in my first food festival. And so I had gone to the food festival to prepare one of my favorite recipes, the dump cake, something that I picked up in Texas. And so my mother came and she chilled out with me for about 4 or 5 days. We did a little bit of sightseeing, but we did a whole lot of cooking. And one of the things that she made for me so that I could try, because I wanted to put it on my menu for my catering business, was salmon fried rice. And so today we're going to be making my mother's salmon fried rice. Now, like with every recipe that I make, I'll start off with the original recipe, what the person who created it had in mind, and then I'll go off and make it my own with my own little tweaks here and there. And so we'll see some of the things that my mother doesn't necessarily agree with, but I absolutely love in this particular dish. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to slice up some green onion. And I like to slice my green onion from the base first. And I'm going to give it a nice... Now, anyone who knows me knows that I have terrible knife skills. It's never been something that I have particularly mastered. And so I'm going to separate the lighter pieces from the darker, and I'm going to save the darker for garnish. Now that we have our green onion chopped out, I am going to punch out some garlic. Now, I love calling it punch out because I get to use my little gadget, which just feels like you're punching the garlic into submission. I love it. It's great. So I like mine with a good amount of garlic, so I'm going to go with this many cloves just because that's what I feel like doing. So, punching out the garlic. I absolutely love this thing. It's one of the best things I've ever purchased because it's just so much fun. Alright, so I now have my pan on stir fry. I'm using an induction cooker. It's at about 400 degrees, so I'm going to add over just a little bit of canola oil to get my garlic going. So when you're using one of these, you want to rock it as hard as you can so that you can get all of your garlic out, all the way through. Make sure it's pushed all the way through. So I'm getting my garlic going. And the step that me and my mother don't particularly agree with is adding over peppers. I really like peppers in my stir fry, and I think that it gives a great amount of color, but I also think it gives a very necessary flavor. So I'm going to add over some bell peppers. It's a bell pepper and onion mixture. Even though I'm adding the green onion, and actually part of the reason I'm only adding so few green onion is because I'm already going to have the delightful pepper flavor going from here. So I'm going to let that get going. I'm going to turn the temperature up just a little bit to 450. Just because one of the things about using frozen peppers and onions is that you'll have a lot of liquid. And because you have so much liquid that is running off, you want to start off with a pretty hot pan so that that liquid can evaporate as quickly as possible. So I'm going to spread them out pretty evenly in the bottom of my pan so that they have space to let that liquid evaporate. And then I'm going to get to work on breaking up my salmon. Now, this is salmon. The best thing to do when you're making a salmon fried rice is to use day-old salmon. So if you made salmon the night before and you just have some left over, just break it up, make some stir-fried rice. So make it with make it with fried rice. So with this, I'm just flaking it, cracking it, breaking it up into pieces. They don't have to be small chunks. You don't have to chop it all nice and neat. Just getting a good little flake going, pretty random sizes is really what you're looking for. Now that most of the liquid has been removed from my peppers and onions, I'm going to add over some garlic chili sauce, just doubling down on that garlic flavor. A little bit of ginger paste, and you can use fresh ginger if you want, just kind of grate it. And some soy sauce. Ginger, soy sauce, and green onion tend to, in my opinion, be the core of Chinese cooking as far as a flavor goes. Alright. Now that I've got those in there, let all of those flavors come together. Add over the lighter parts of my green onion so that they can cook to incorporate. And continue breaking up my salmon. All right. Now that my flavors are just about completely incorporated, just going to tip it to you so you can see what they're looking like as my base. I'm going to also start to break up my rice. Now I'm just going to do this with my fingers. I don't mind my fingers smelling like rice so much as I mind them smelling like salmon, but I don't really mind that either. So I'm going to give this one more stir and begin to add over my rice. Now, when you're doing a fried rice, you really want to make sure that your rice is really cold. Preferably, do this the night before, so basically day-old rice. But if you can't use day-old rice, you can just refrigerate your rice a couple of hours to make sure that it's really, really cool. And this is just 2 cups of rice, which I probably have more salmon than I need for 2 cups of rice, but I like to have a lot of salmon in my dish. Now I'm going to add over some more oil. And now, let's get to stirring it in. Hot, hot, hot. So I'm going to turn down the temperature of my pan just a little bit because I'm getting a little bit of sticking. And now I'm going to take over my flaked salmon, adding it over to my rice. We're really just heating that salmon through. And another thing that I'm going to add over is some green peas, just for color and a little bit of vegetable. Alright, so adding that over, and again, stirring some more. It's a stir fry, which means you're going to have to stir it a lot. If you don't choose to stir it, you're going to get a lot of sticking, and that's not what you want at the end of a stir fry. So now I'm going to cover my stir fry and allow everything to get nice and warm together. One thing my mother likes to do that I also like to do, but I really haven't mastered, is to scramble some eggs on the side of the pot and then add it, incorporate over. I haven't actually mastered that, so I always just end up with egg-coated rice. So I'm not going to do that today, but if you have mastered that technique, go ahead and add those over. They make for a great additional protein to your fried rice. So I'm going to uncover it just to give it a peek. Here, see what we're looking at. And I'm going to give it a taste. Our salt content is good. If you're making rice specifically to do this, I would say use about a quarter cup less water in your rice than you need. Because in the process of reheating, with all of the liquids that are going to be in here, you could end up with some mushy rice, and you don't want that. You want your rice to still be individual grains and really tasty. So I'm pausing because I put a good amount of the chili in here, so it's all up in my sinuses and it's making everything feel a little tingly, and it's wonderful. Okay, so allowing that to heat up, let's get our serving dish out. So it needs another couple of minutes. And I absolutely love this new serving dish that I got. It was only $10. Buying things secondhand is really great because you can get some really expensive and valuable items for pretty cheap sometimes. Sometimes you'll encounter junk, and other times you'll encounter something that was really worthwhile. One of my personal addictions is going to the Goodwill during their half price day and buying up all of the cooking utensils that I can find. I get spatulas, I get cooking devices, gadgets. I actually got this cast iron and the cast iron top that goes with it. So this one is enamel and this one is regular cast iron, but they go together like this. I didn't even know they were set. It was so cool. I bought them on 2 separate days. They were available 2 separate times. And I think I got both pieces for $7 each. This is probably a 20 to 30, maybe more dollar piece. So Goodwill can be your friend when you're looking for cooking equipment. So everything is heated just about through. Let's give it a taste test. Perfect. So I'm going to turn off my heat cooking element. And I'm just going to lower it. Toss some of this for dramatic effect. Alright. So now we're just going to don't look at my shame. This is my first time using my induction cooker, so as I get more comfortable with it, I'll have less cooking at the bottom. And then add over the last little bit for our dramatic effect. I also like to plate with a little bit of chili sauce down the center. So, I absolutely hope that you have learned something from this episode and that this is something that you can make at home. I'm going to go enjoy myself, and as always, thank the good Lord for good food and good times. All that good is good cubed.